Right, hello, everybody. Arun Mehra here. Excuse me. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this webinar. I hope you've all had a great day and yeah, weathering the storms that we see out there, the ups and downs of life. So tonight, I'm going to be talking about tips to save money in your dental practice. Now, I'm only going to speak for 20 minutes, 25 minutes at most, and it'll just there's so much that you could cover, but at the same time every practice is unique, everyone is different, so we're going to cover a range of subjects here, and I'll quickly go through these tonight with you. My colleague Gurpreet is actually available on this as well. He runs our buying group manager, so Gurpreet, hopefully this will work. Hi Gurpreet, you there?
Hi.
Hi, yep. You're right, yeah?
Yes, how are you? Okay.
I'm good, thanks. Good. So, right, so Gurpreet's in sunny Kent and I'm in sunny Surrey. And tonight we're going to try and just run through some tips on how to save money in your dental practice. So without further ado, I'm going to share my slides. Just bear with me a second. If I can make it work somewhere. Can you see my slides, Gurpreet?
Yes, I can, yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So, that's not right. Just make sure. Sorry, bear with me a second. Right, let's start again. Right. So, tips to save money in your practice. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name's Arun. I'm the owner and CEO of the Samera Business Advisors. I also own dental practices with my wife Smita, which is the DOWNTIME Dental Group, which is fully private, based here down in London and Surrey. For the last 18 years, I've been working with dentists all across the UK and beyond. I'm an accountant by training with PwC, an ex-VP of Bank of America, and yeah, I've got a lot of experience in dealing with money in healthcare. Okay, so tonight I'm going to just come across some ideas and tips and pointers to you to just get you thinking more about it in your practice more than anything. Okay, so Gurpreet, you there? Hi Gurpreet, you there?
Oh, yes.
Hiya, mate. You're right. So sorry, I've gone too quickly. Oh, get the wrong way. Yeah. So, do you want to just give a 2-second background about who you are?
Yeah. So my name's Gurpreet Trina. I'm the dental buying group manager. I've got roughly around 15 years experience of saving dental practices and dentists money on their consumables and equipment. And yeah, like I said, I've got a really good track record of doing that, and that's one of the things that the buying group can do for you in terms of savings over a whole range of services, which
Sure.
we'll cover shortly.
Yeah, so I'll come back to that. Gurpreet joined us about 6 months ago, and he's done a sterling job to get our buying group off the ground, which is going at a rate of knots. So we'll be talking a little bit about that later, but let's crack on in terms of some of the tips and things for you to think about today. Okay, so I'm just going to mute you, Gurpreet. Okay, so where can you actually save money in your practice? Now, if you look at your practice, there's a whole range of costs within your practice. You have staff costs are probably a large part of it, people who you've employed, nurses, receptionists, and that usually is in the range between 15 and 20% of your turnover. In addition, assuming you employ associates, you could be paying them anything between 40 and 50%. You then have other overheads that might be in the practice, which could be from utilities to telephones to cleaning to you name it, okay? And that can add up to 30%. And then you have things like material costs, again, 6 to 10%. So there are a multitude of areas that you can potentially save costs in your practice. And it's not just about kind of cutting costs. It's important not to have a false economy in terms of you're cutting costs, and that's obviously having an impact on your business. So getting that right is not easy as well. So just highlighting the 4 main areas here. So as I said, there's considerable areas to lower costs. So the first one I'm going to cover are finance related costs. So quite often you might be buying equipment, and you might need to finance it. So quite often you will also get maybe an HP lease or an HP agreement, and it'll show the interest rates are on there. So it's really important to understand what the interest rate that you're paying on that equipment is, because a small percentage can have a big impact on actually what you're physically paying each month. In addition, you might be having a long-term loan, you might not be tied in anyway. So it's always important to look at refinancing any loans that you may have. Just like you do a mortgage every few years, you might have a mortgage on your house. Similarly, loans on a practice can be refinanced, and banks are always clambering over themselves to have dentists as clients. And quite often or not, they'll give you very favorable terms if your business is doing pretty well. And as an aside, if you're a startup practice or you started a practice up in the last couple of years, you might have had to pay higher interest rates. But once you've got a little bit of trading history behind you, you can then refinance, usually at lower rates, because the banks will then think you're a lower risk, therefore a lower rate. Again, saving you money. Kind of slightly on the aside to this, but really important, is cost short-term debt. So you might also have credit card debt. Now, credit card debt, 9 times out of 10 is very expensive, and it's so important not to pay, not to have to pay not just pay the monthly minimum charge, but to pay your whole credit card bill off. Now, if you can't do that, you're going to be paying astronomical interest rates. So it's, again, if you've got credit card debt and you're only paying a small amount off each month, look at equity that you might have in your practice, equity you might have in your house, or some spare cash that you might have to pay off that credit card debt, because that's expensive. So again, look at equity release in your practice or house, and the loans that the rates of interest you'll borrow from those types of scenarios will be much lower than a credit card, again, which would save you a lot of money. So important to look at your financing costs. And as I mentioned earlier, finance is one of our areas of our business. So if you need any help on finance and getting the good deals out there, Nigel, Dan, and others in the team can certainly help. All right, let's move on to the next one. Right, business rates. Now, business rates, unfortunately, if you run a practice, they're an inevitable cost of running a business. And we saw last year or 2 years ago, there was some kind of discounts, or even business rates were reduced for practices in certain areas because of COVID. Now, it was meant to happen in 2021, a reevaluation of all business property, but that was delayed. No, 2020, I think, sorry, but that was delayed because of COVID. So now this has been delayed until 2023, and it'll be based on 2021 rents. So make sure in 2023 you get your rates revalued, as it's likely the rateable value would actually have dropped because of COVID, and ultimately you'll pay lower rates. So it's important to get this addressed relatively early on. So business rates are an area which are usually a large cost of a practice or a business. If you can get that revalued, get your property revalued, the amount you pay each month will be lower. Okay, so that's business rates. Number 3, hire properly. Now, easier said than done, but again, hiring temp staff isn't a great idea. You're always going to be paying a higher cost, whether it's hygiene staff, nursing staff, or any more locum costs. So hiring temporary staff is a large cost. So if you can try and eliminate having temporary staff, and I know it's easier said than done, but you want to try and hire right the first time, get that right team member into your practice. So I'm not going to talk about hiring and recruitment today, but really look at how do you recruit people? What processes do you put people through? And if you're going to use a recruitment agent, imperative to negotiate the fees in advance. They can be quite costly, but there's no harm in asking. Okay, so sometimes people will say yes. So important to address that. In terms of team members that you have, of course, you'll need to pay them a decent salary, because my experience has always taught me if you pay a low salary might not necessarily get the best people. So pay them a decent salary, but at the same time, have some performance targets in place. If the practice hits a certain target, then they get paid a bonus. Don't keep just rising the basic salary all the time. That can be a costly exercise as well. And just because they've been working for you for a year, if they don't meet the objectives or if they haven't been performing, doesn't mean you have to put their pay up. So just think that through as well. Obviously, good people deserve to be rewarded, but if people aren't so good or haven't really provided or added value to your business, you have to question that as well. So hiring is really important. Excuse me. Throat. I'm going to just motor through these today because I know it's a Wednesday night on a cold January, and the last thing you probably want to hear is how to cut costs, but you're here to learn something. So I'll try and get across the message anyway. Then we have associate pay. Now, this has been going on for years. Now, when we started our first practice back in 2002, 2003, we started peak charging. Our associate fees were around 40 to 45%. Then we opened up another practice in Canary Wharf because our overheads were really, really high there. We dropped the associate salary or pay percentage down to 35 to 45%. Now, I remember having the argument or the discussion with dentists at the time, well, that's too low, that's too low. But our justification was, well, our fees are high. So if our fees are higher, you're going to get a smaller percentage of a larger fee. So for some dentists, we won them over and they signed up and they did very, very well because our fees were higher. So as the scenario outlines here, 40% of £1,000 is certainly better than 50% of £750. Okay, which would be better for you? So in order to run a practice today, the overheads are rising. Okay, so that communication with the associate is really important to highlight what the overheads are in a practice, and really perhaps even have that discussion about what are the fees and what will you charge and what percentage you'll pay for them or to them. But it's also important to manage their expectations as well, because sometimes I've met associates who just are adamant on 50%, whether you're charging out £100 an hour or £500 an hour, and they don't necessarily understand this. So it's important to explain the overhead structure of your business to your associates. You can't not do this. So there's a big difference between 40 to 50% in paying an associate, and as costs are rising, I think your increasingly practices are going to have to look at this hard and paint the picture and also explain to dentists the cost benefit analysis of either which way to go. Digitize. Again, I'm no dentist, I'm no expert, but I've just seen this happen in our own practices. I've seen it happen in many other client practices by digitizing many of the workflows in the practice. So you can obviously save on impression material by utilizing an intraoral scanner. You can send information directly to labs, which ultimately speeds up the process and keeps your costs lower. I've got clients who've created their own small laboratory in their practice by using all the workflows and technologies that's there. Again, this saves money, but I appreciate you need to learn the skills and understand the technology to do this. But longer term, it will save you money, but it might take up some of your time, or you could train someone in your team to take on these types of roles. So digitizing your practice is so important. But again, when you're buying equipment, like I said, the financing costs earlier, it's really important to negotiate on the pricing of the equipment. Talk to different suppliers. Same equipment can be bought from different suppliers for different costs. So talk to the right people. And again, we can help you through our buying group. We've got extensive contacts for all capital equipment in the dental sector. So another area, stock ordering. And I'm whizzing through these today. Stock ordering. Now, you can have a simple stock ordering system. You don't need to have anything too fancy in your current dental practice, but really you need to identify what you need and only order what you need. So I've seen practices where they hold far too much stock, and quite often or not, things can go out of date, it can become obsolete, it can get damaged, all these types of things. So in my experience, only hold what you really need to hold and order stuff as you need it. At the same time, as part of the process, I think your team should be comparing prices on a regular basis, let's say quarter by quarter. And if you're not already, make sure you're utilizing online ordering, because I know certain suppliers give a discount by making an order over online rather than just doing things over the phone. So really important to use that online ordering facility too. So get your team involved. And again, stock ordering or consumable ordering is something that has to be really considered and done in a systematic way. Gurpreet, do you have anything to add here? I just thought I might just throw you in here. Gurpreet, you there, mate? Hiya.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, all very valid points. Obviously, you know, if there's something that you're using on a really regular basis and you know you're going to get through it quite quick, then maybe look out for any deals on certain products that you're using a lot of. So whether it be like composites or putties, those sort of stuff, you know, quite often there's loads of deals that go up that are like national offers throughout the year that some dentists aren't aware of. So yeah, do look out for those as well as another means of trying to save money long term.
Yeah, okay, perfect. And again, that's your team should be looking out for these deals. And again, I know through our buying group, we're starting to communicate these deals to our client base as well. All right, another thing which you kind of forget, but in this world of digital technology, so many practices are still use so much paper. So the bottom line, go paperless. Think smart. So if you need to have more screens on your desk over the long term, that will save you money rather than having to print documents out and patients having to sign documents, because this will ultimately save in printing, paper, storage costs, which is all only good for the environment. Well, not good for the environment having all that stuff. So you really want to try and save on all of those areas. And therefore, by going paperless, it's really, really important to do this. Similarly, as an accountant, for when we are accountants of hundreds of practices, all your invoice information should be ultimately scanned to your accountants and then stored. So all our clients use HubDoc and Xero, and therefore it's important to scan all that into HubDoc and Xero until you've got a record of it. And then such records only need to be kept for at least 22 months after the end of the tax year the tax return is for. Things have changed over the years. So if you've even got scanned copies, I think HMRC accepts those now, but after 22 months, these records can be changed. So again, a culture change needs to happen in your practice. Think, do we need to print it? What's the benefit of printing stuff? But again, this can save you money, okay? I know these printer cartridges, I just got one at home and I'm using it here. I'm printing out certain things, but kind of they're so expensive these days. So again, think about how can I save money? Culture change. Utility. Yeah, another area is utility costs. Firstly, before you even shop around for utility costs, get your staff involved, get your team involved. You need to turn off lights, keep the heating off, aircon each day after the end of the day, have some notices up on the wall saying save costs, save energy, turn off the lights at the end of the day. All of these things actually add up and matter, and energy costs are rising. So that's what you can do within your practice. But then at the same time, if you're coming out of a deal or of a contract, shop around for a better deal. And I know it's a minefield, this area. So we've partnered up with a specialist in this area, and they're saving our clients up to about 34 to 40% on their utility costs for electrics, for gas, all of those areas. So if you need help, talk to Gurpreet. He can help you get on board in the buying group, and then we can start helping you save money on utilities. So utilities is a really important area, and I can't see utility costs actually dropping for a while. I think the more I read about it, they'll be staying pretty high and may even go up. And if sadly a war does occur in between Russia and Ukraine, I can imagine gas prices rising even further, and that having a knock-on effect in terms of gas and energy prices here in the UK. So not too much fun. Not directly a saving area, but something that is so important, which can have a massive impact on your margins, is utilizing your chair effectively. So I'm not going to go into appointment book scheduling. I'm no expert to be able to do that, but really ultimately you want to get all those gaps filled. So, because remember, when you have a practice you're running each day, you've got a nurse, you've got receptionists, you've got electrics on, you've got you've paid the rent, you've got rates, all these are all fixed costs. They're all there. Okay. So the key is to fill those gaps and have the team have a team on the front desk that are motivated to fill those gaps, because those gaps are ultimately empty chair. And if there's empty chair, that's costing you money. So most important thing is, okay, how do I minimize the turnaround times between patients? So it's important that you have a good system and good process in place, that patients are turned around relatively quickly, so new patients in there. But at the same time, you have the opportunity where I see practices that might be open from 9 till 4 and that's it. Well, you might cover some overheads, but if you opened up the hours further and you started at 8 and finished at 6 and perhaps worked weekends, you're maximizing surgery time. So those fixed overheads are spread over a larger period each week. So increasingly, and I know it means a slightly changing culture again, but you might think, well, if I've still got those fixed overheads, you need to think about, should I open up my book or appointment book greater so that those fixed overheads are spread over a bigger period of time, and therefore those costs are not so impactful. So chair utilization is another area to consider greatly. Well, chair downtime, a kind of overlap here, but again, servicing. So it's really important, again, to service regularly enough to ensure that things never break down, but not too often that the costs are too high. Now, at least, I guess, an annual service and all your equipment, but the most expensive thing in your practice is your chair. And then when it's not working, if your chair's not working, or you can't see patients in that room, you've still got those fixed overheads. You've still got rent, rate, staff costs, everything all there to pay. So there's no excuse. You need to make sure you have that chair working, your suction working, all of these things that need to be operating. Therefore, you need to make sure they're regularly serviced, and make sure you've got decent equipment in the first place that doesn't break down on a regular basis. And if necessary, set up a service contract to ensure equipment is serviced on a regular basis. And then I suppose other overheads are things like IT, phones, insurance costs, PI cover. All of those are things that need to be looked at in a practice. So it's so important. Let me get Gurpreet back on the thing. Hi, Gurpreet.
Hi.
Hi, mate. Sorry, I know it's 8:30 on a Friday, Wednesday night, so it's not much fun talking about this. But in terms of costs on the consumable side of things, I haven't mentioned, but I thought I'd just bring that up now. That's another big area that if you shop around, am I right in saying that you can get the best deals?
Absolutely. And in fact, that's a big advantage of joining our buying group. Not only can we save you money on consumables and equipment, we can look at some of the other areas that Aaron's mentioned, like utility costs, and personal indemnity insurance is another area that we can sort of look at. IT, phones, and there'll be additional services that we'll be adding in the coming weeks and months, which you'll be able to benefit from by joining.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're lucky enough to be positioned, and having run our own dental practices, I'm lucky enough to see all the costs in a business. So and we know a lot of the suppliers in the dental markets. We're approaching all of them out there, and some of them want to be more competitive, and some of them want to help independent dentists do better, especially in this troubling economic and interest rate rising and inflationary economy. Okay, so it's important to look at all of these overheads. And move on if it's going to work. But one of the things I know we're talking about costs, okay, and we're not going to talk about this today, but also by putting your prices up, that can have a big impact on margins. So whilst we've looked at cutting costs and seeing where you can save money, don't also forget that you can put your prices up, especially in private practice you can. So, and you might think, well, it's not the right time, but inflation is there. So you have to believe in yourself and think, you know what, I'm going to have to put my prices up accordingly. So really important to think, okay, whilst I'm keeping all these costs low or trying to minimize my costs, you can put your prices up as well. Okay. So some actions if you're a practice owner to take tomorrow. Firstly, run through your P&L, understand your cost structure. That's the first thing. If you dig out your P&L, it's accounting season at the moment, so you've probably got your accounts recently. Have a look at them and look at your costs, okay? And if you don't have management accounts, you probably want to start looking at management accounts, because that will help you understand the practice performance on a month-by-month basis or quarter-by-quarter basis. Then, once you understand your cost structure, talk to your team, get their help. You can't do this alone. Get their buy-in to help you reduce costs. Make it as part of your culture. People have ideas to reduce your costs. You'll be surprised if you talk to your team where they'll think, okay, this is what we can cut. This is what we can change. This is how we can make it better. Get your team involved. You won't have all the ideas yourself for sure. And then the third one is ultimately is arrange a call with Gurpreet, who you've just heard from momentarily, our buying group manager, and he can help you on the whole range of things in saving money from consumables to utilities and literally everything else. Let's move on. So let me just share. I'll just share a screen. Hold on, new share, if I can find it. So yeah, the buying group, there's a page here on our website. It's called, just type into Google Samera buying group and you'll find a whole range of things. We're about to launch a new buying group, actual separate website. But you can see the gist of everything here. You can schedule a call with Gurpreet on this link here, which is Gurpreet's calendar, which I'll show you the link now if I can find it on the chat. So you can definitely sign up for a free consult with Gurpreet in that respect, and you can read about this here as well. If you're looking to save money, he's your man. Okay, and I think the big advantage is we're increasingly adding more and more suppliers onto this who are going to be helping dentists save money. Then, if we carry on. Actually, sorry, Gurpreet, I should ask you, do you want to add anything here, Gurpreet?
Yeah, so like I say, with the old buying group, obviously if you're not a current client of Samera, it's 3 months. You get 3 months free initially, just to see if you can benefit from it. So I would definitely at least book a call with myself and join and give it a go and see if you do actually benefit from the savings. I'm pretty confident that you will. And like I say, it's not just the consumables and equipments side of things that we can try and save you money. It's all aspects of your business that we can look at. And I think yeah, you'll find it worthwhile by joining.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, have a look, check it out, talk to Gurpreet. Then let's get back to the slides and find them. And then ultimately, yeah, if you need further help, if you need a new business advisors or accountant, we deal with over 500 dentists across the country. We've got the buying group, the Samera Alliance, which is going to be rebranded to. I think Gurpreet mentioned there, and we've got a lot going on there. If you need to raise finance and you're trying to or refinance, as I mentioned earlier, for assets or acquisition, that's a good thing to do. One of the things I haven't talked about today is actually tax. Okay, but remember that's a big cost in the business. And one of the things I didn't mention, but I'll mention now, if you're buying assets and if you're a limited company, if you do it before April 2023, you will actually save quite a lot of tax through the super tax deduction. So important to get those assets before April 2020 or March, April 2023, because you can save tax, because the deductions, rather than 100%, it's 130% on your tax bill. So little things like that you need to think about that will ultimately save you money. So use the incentives that are out there. And I'll be talking about other incentives and taxes in another webinar in the future that you'll be able to watch in the future totally free of charge. If you need to contact us, these are all the people, or not all the people, but some of the people you can do. Myself, Nigel, who runs our finance business, Dan, who runs our asset finance business, Gurpreet, who you've just heard from on the buying group, Jyoti, who's our client care manager. So for any of us, you can book a call on Calendly or Zoom meeting on the following link down there on our homepage, samera.co.uk. I have talked for, how long have I talked for? 29 minutes. So I've actually gone over my scheduled time by 5 minutes or 4 minutes, but really touched on the real key points that I wanted to get across today in terms of what areas that you can save money in your practice. I will end the webinar now. So if you need any help, okay, drop us a line, book a call with Gurpreet, and we'd be delighted to help you. Okay, so any last comments from yourself, Gurpreet, tonight to everybody?
Yeah, just like I say, if you have any questions, feel free to just book a call, and I can go through any of your questions and inquiries, and yeah, I look forward to helping you as much as I can.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Gurpreet. Thanks, guys, and look forward to hearing from you. Cheers. Bye. Oh, hold on, there's a question here. Ah, great. Thank you. No problem. Thanks for the message. Okay, right. Let's end this tonight.